Hello everyone, and welcome to my CBS YNR Full Today channel. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Is this really the end of the Abbott family as we know it? Or are we just watching the start of a much bigger nightmare? Why does every tiny bit of happiness in Genoa City always feel like it's just a setup for something horrible? Seriously, think about it. Today, we aren't just talking about what's happening next. We're really getting into why everything is falling apart. Jack Abbott is down, there's a pool of blood on the floor, and the man we were supposed to trust has turned into a monster. It's a lot to handle, so let's get into why this week is a total disaster for everyone involved. Let's start with the guy who basically set this whole thing on fire, Dr. Lawrence Markham. To really understand why Jack is fighting for his life, we have to look past that knife.
She wasn't teaching me a lesson long ago. We weren't even together then.
Markham is like a masterclass in how a villain can hide in plain sight. He didn't just kidnap Diane, he actually studied the entire Abbott family like they were part of a science experiment. He looked for every little crack in their armor and every trauma they've ever had. In my opinion, this guy isn't just a criminal. He's what I'd call a psychological arsonist. He uses that fancy medical degree of theirs like a shield, which makes what he did feel way worse than just a normal crime. He didn't just want to hide his secrets. He wanted to see if he could actually break a whole legacy using a broken person like Patty Williams. If you think about it from a psychological side, Markham is a total narcissist. He doesn't see the Abbotts as people at all. They're just test subjects for him to play with. This kind of smart evil is honestly way scarier than some guy with a gun because you never see it coming until it's too late. Now, think about Diane for a second. Can you imagine the relief of finally getting away from Markham's place, only to walk into your own home and find your husband bleeding out? That is a special kind of hell. She finally gets out of a physical cage, but then she's immediately shoved into a psychological one where she's being blamed for the whole thing. The sheer exhaustion of surviving a kidnapping just to be met with a murder charge? It's enough to make anyone snap. She's stuck in a no-win situation, and it's honestly painful to watch. I think the show is making a really big move here by making a doctor the bad guy. We're supposed to feel safe around doctors, right? But Markham represents the exact opposite of that safety. I totally disagree with anyone who says this is just another soap kidnapping. This is a targeted attempt to destroy everything Jack Abbott has ever built. Do you think Markham actually believes he can get away with this, or is he just trying to cause as much pain as possible? Speaking of pain, we have to talk about Patty Williams. We've seen her lose it before, but this feels different. This isn't a cry for help or a plea for attention. This is a full-blown revenge massacre fueled by her completely losing touch with reality. When she stabbed Jack, she wasn't just hitting a person. She was trying to kill the version of Jack that doesn't love her back. I see Patty's current state as the nuclear option for love that isn't returned. She's decided that if she can't be the hero in Jack's story, she'll be the person who ends it. It's her twisted way of getting control. In her head, if he's dead, he's finally hers forever because Diane can't have him. This is a classic case of erotomania taken to a deadly level. Patty's whole ego is so wrapped up in Jack that when he rejects her, she feels like she's actually dying. By stabbing him, she's trying to stop time. She wants him frozen in a moment where he belongs to her, even if that means he's just a body on a dining room floor. Underneath all that scary rage, though, Patty is basically drowning in her own worthlessness. She sees Diane as the person who stole the life she was supposed to have. Every time Diane cries, Patty thinks it's just a fake act meant to mock her. It's a mix of a holy mission and total despair in her mind. Honestly, I think the writers are finally making Patty as dangerous as she's always hinted at being. It's super disturbing, but she's definitely the most interesting person on screen right now. She's not a victim anymore. She's an unstoppable force that the Abbotts have no idea how to handle. Do you think there's any part of the old Patty left, or is she just completely gone? Now, let's talk about that frame-up. The sheer nerve it takes to stab yourself and then point the finger at someone else is just wild. Patty is playing a dangerous game, but the real kicker is that Dr. Markham is apparently going to back her up. Why would he do that? Well, it's all about saving his own skin. If Diane is in jail for trying to kill her husband, no one is going to believe anything she says about him kidnapping her. He's using the law to finish the job his torture started. It's a double betrayal. He fails her as a doctor, and then he fails her as a witness. This whole thing completely changes how we look at the idea of coming home. Usually, getting back to the Abbott mansion means the drama is over. But here, the house is just another trap. The walls that were supposed to keep her safe are now being used as evidence against her. It's the ultimate form of gaslighting. Imagine you're Diane. You've been held prisoner, you finally get home, you find your husband dying, and the person who did it is standing there with self-inflicted wounds telling the cops you did it. This creates what doctors call cognitive dissonance for the police. Who are they going to believe? A respected doctor or a woman with a messy past who just escaped a mental health situation? I really hate what Markham is doing here, which I guess means the acting is great. He's so professional and calm that you almost want to believe him, even though you know he's basically the devil in a white coat. I totally agree with Kyle's decision to go rogue. The law is being manipulated by pros, so the only way to win is to stop playing by the rules. What would you do if you were in Kyle's shoes? Would you trust the cops or take things into your own hands? Just when the Abbotts are at their lowest point, Ashley comes back from Paris. But don't expect a fun family reunion. This is a woman on a warpath. But I have
it's
to
too
wonder,
early to make any kind of
being there
predictions,
actually help,
but
or is she just
Virginia
going to make
Nottingham
everything
is the
explode
best,
faster?
and I'm gonna guess that
Ashley
your wife
is
is
usually
a
the one
fighter.
who keeps things together when Jack is down. She's coming back because she can feel her family falling apart from thousands of miles away. But since she's coming back because of a tragedy, she's bringing a lot of guilt and anger with her. She probably feels like she failed them because she wasn't there to protect her brother. The Abbott pride is hurt, and when Ashley gets protective, she gets scary. She isn't just going after Patty, she's going after everyone who let this happen. We're seeing her protective sibling complex go into overdrive. In her mind, Jack is the center of the universe. If he's gone, nothing else matters. She isn't worried about what's legal, she's worried about blood. Ashley coming home is the one thing Markham and Patty didn't plan for. They thought they could isolate Kyle and Diane. They didn't count on a woman who knows exactly how Patty Williams' mind works. Ashley is the only person who can be just as intense as Patty without actually losing her mind. I love that she's the one stepping up. We've seen the family look helpless for way too long. We need someone with her kind of power to walk into that hospital and start taking names. I totally agree with her no BS attitude. The Abbotts have been too soft, and now they're paying for it in blood. Do you think Ashley is the only one who can actually stop Patty, or is she in over her head too? While the Abbotts are literally bleeding, the Newmans are dealing with their own darkness. Nikki just had surgery, and even though they removed the mass, she still can't see. Her being blind is such a perfect metaphor for what's happening in the whole city right now. Everyone is stumbling around in the dark. Why does this matter for the Abbott story? Because Victor is totally distracted. Usually, Victor Newman would have his eyes on everything involving Jack and some shady doctor. But because he's so focused on Nikki and making these bold medical decisions, he's left a huge power vacuum. Nikki has to be feeling so scared right now. For a woman who has always used her looks and her presence as a shield, not being able to see is a huge blow to her ego. She feels like a burden to Victor, and that ironically makes it easier for him to control her. Victor is using this crisis to recommit to her, but is it really love or is it just his need to be in charge? Psychologists call this a hero complex. He wants to be the one who saves her, so she has to depend on him. It's his way of hitting the reset button on their relationship while she's at her weakest. Nikki's blindness is really the blind spot for the whole Newman family. They're so busy with their own medical drama that they aren't seeing the literal bloodbath happening at the Abbott house. By the time they look up, the whole city is going to be different. I'm honestly suspicious of Victor's surprising announcement at the end of the week. The city is burning, Victor. I disagree with him keeping Nikki isolated at the ranch. She deserves the truth, not some fairy tale version of reality he's making up for her. Would you stay with Victor if you knew he was keeping you in the dark? We also can't ignore the fact that while Jack is on a ventilator, his company, Abbott, is being ripped apart. This is where Markham's plan is actually genius in a really evil way. He didn't just hurt a man, he hurt a whole business. Stock markets hate one thing more than anything else: instability. When a legendary CEO gets stabbed and his wife is accused of doing it, the company's value just vanishes in hours. This is corporate warfare disguised as a personal tragedy. Markham or whoever is backing him knew that if you take out the head of the family, the company will follow. Abbott is more than just a place where they make makeup, it's the Abbott legacy. If Patty burns down the house, it's sad. If the market burns down Abbott, the family name is dead forever. The massacre isn't just happening with knives, it's happening with numbers. This shows just how fragile a legacy can be. The Abbotts built everything around Jack. Without him, there's no anchor for the company. We're seeing a herd mentality where fear is making everyone sell their shares. Honestly, this makes the stakes so much higher. It's not just will Jack wake up? It's what will he have left if he does? If he wakes up and Abbott is gone, he's basically lost his soul anyway. I think Kyle needs to stop playing detective for a minute and realize his entire future is disappearing. But then again, if he doesn't clear his mom's name, none of that money matters. What would you prioritize? Saving the company or saving your parents? Kyle is finally stepping out of his father's shadow, but he's doing it in a literal war zone. His decision to go rogue is a huge turning point for him. Why go rogue? Because the system
Mom
is totally
started
broken.
having these
The
terrible
cops
headaches a
believe the
few
bad
weeks
guys.
ago.
The hospital is a mess. Kyle realizes that if he wants to save his mom and help his dad, he has to become the kind of person Jack never wanted him to be, a vigilante. He's feeling this toxic mix of primal rage and absolute fear. He just saved his mom from one monster, Markham, only to find his dad almost killed by another, Patty. He's in fight or flight mode, and he's definitely chosen to fight. He's sick of being a victim. We're seeing Kyle turn into a defensive narcissist. He's starting to think that he's the only one with the truth and he's the only one who can fix it. That's dangerous because that's when you start making mistakes. When you stop asking for help, that's exactly when someone like Patty gets the jump on you. But honestly, it's about time he grew some teeth. He's been pushed around by Diane, Jack, and Ashley for years. Seeing him take charge is the character growth we've been waiting for. I totally agree with him not trusting the police. They couldn't find a kidnapped woman for weeks, so why would they solve a stabbing in 5 minutes? Do you think Kyle is being brave, or is he just being reckless? While the world is basically on fire, Phyllis is helping Matt Clark start a new chapter. Honestly, this is such a Phyllis move. She's focusing on a project while her rivals are in the hospital. Why is she doing this? It's classic deflection. By focusing on Matt's redemption, she doesn't have to deal with the chaos in the city or her own past. She loves being the fixer because it makes her feel like she's above the mess. This feels like a trauma bond waiting to happen. Both of them have these really warped pasts, and they see their own mistakes reflected in each other. It's not a healthy romance, it's just two broken people trying to use each other to feel better. I think Matt Clark might be a Trojan horse for this season. He says he wants to be a better man, but he's still following Victor's orders. Phyllis thinks she's helping him find himself, but she might just be helping Victor set up his next big move. She's being played, and she's too thrilled by the romance to see it. I'm really skeptical about this couple. Matt Clark has a history that makes Patty Williams look like a saint. I totally disagree with Phyllis trusting him so fast. She's looking for love in a graveyard of past trauma, and it's going to end badly. Would you ever trust a man like Matt Clark if you were Phyllis? The tension is going to get even worse as we head toward the end of the week. We're looking at a situation where the Abbott mansion becomes a vulnerable tomb of sorrow. Patty isn't done yet. She thinks a river of blood has to be spilled to get her twisted fairy tale ending. The massacre isn't just a rumor, it's basically inevitable. As long as Diane is still breathing, Patty isn't going to stop. The news of Jack's death, even if he's just in a coma, is going to be the spark that sets everything off. If Patty thinks he's gone, she has no reason to play nice. She has nothing left to lose, and that makes her the most dangerous person in the show's history. So, what's going to happen next? Here's what I think. First, Jack is going to pull through, but there will be a catch. Maybe he wakes up with memory loss, or maybe Patty scares him into staying quiet to protect Diane. Second, Markham is going to be the first one to fall. Kyle's investigation will probably find some medical malpractice or proof he's been messing with Patty's head. Once the doctor breaks, the whole frame-up falls apart. Third, Ashley and Patty are going to have a massive showdown. Ashley isn't going to wait for the cops. She's going to confront Patty herself, and it's going to be the scene of the year. Fourth, Nikki's blindness is going to lead to a big shocker. Victor's news on Friday might be some experimental surgery that forces him to work with someone he hates. And finally, Chabot is going to face a hostile takeover. With the stock so low, someone like Audra is definitely going to try and buy the company for basically nothing. Genoa City has entered an era where the good guys are losing. The Abbotts are broken, the Newmans are blind, and the villains are wearing white coats or carrying knives. This isn't just a plot, it's a total shift in power. I have to ask you guys, who do you think is going to be the one to finally break Patty's psychosis? Will it be Ashley's rage, Jack waking up, or Kyle's heroics? And do you think Diane actually deserves some of this karma for her past? Or has the show gone too far by framing a kidnapping victim? Seriously, the stakes have never been this high. Jack is the heart of this show, and right now, he's barely hanging on. If you aren't watching this week, you're missing the moment the young and the restless changed forever. If you liked this deep dive into the psychological war in Genoa City, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and comment below with your theories on who's going to actually survive the night at the Abbott mansion. We'll be right here to talk about every twist as it happens. See you in the next one. Jack's condition remained unstable as the hours dragged on, and every time a nurse stepped into the waiting area, every member of the Abbott family jumped to their feet, hoping for encouraging news. The silence between updates became almost unbearable, filled only by anxious pacing, whispered prayers, and memories of happier days that suddenly felt impossibly far away. Diane sat alone near the window, staring into the darkness outside the hospital as guilt weighed heavily on her heart. She replayed every conversation she'd had with Jack during the past week, wondering if she had missed some warning sign or if there had been something, anything, she could have done differently. Kyle eventually joined her, and for a rare moment neither of them argued nor blamed the other. They simply sat together, united by fear instead of conflict. Across the hall, Ashley quietly spoke with the detectives, insisting they investigate every possible angle instead of rushing to conclusions. She knew her brother had made powerful enemies over the years, and she refused to believe the case was as simple as it appeared. Her determination impressed even the investigators, who began reviewing evidence with renewed attention after noticing several unexplained inconsistencies. Meanwhile, rumors spread throughout Genoa City faster than anyone could control them. Some believed the attack was the result of an old vendetta, while others whispered that someone had deliberately manipulated events from the shadows. At the Abbott mansion, forensic teams continued collecting evidence late into the night, uncovering subtle clues that suggested the confrontation had been more complicated than originally believed. Every discovery raised new questions instead of providing answers. Back at the hospital, the surgeon finally explained that although Jack had survived the operation, Significant blood loss meant his recovery would be slow and unpredictable. The family felt relief, but it was cautious relief, knowing that the next few days could still change everything.